This podcast is brought to you by MeUndies. Super soft, great fitting underwear that doesn't ride out. Get 20% off your first order and free shipping at MeUndies.com/screenplay. Get 20% off your first order and free shipping at MeUndies.com/screenplay.
Hey everybody, thanks for hanging out with us here on Screenplay today. Today I'm joined by Mr. Brandon Farmahini, Mr. Chris Demarais, and Mr. Blaine, who is not looking at porn on the iPad.
Come on, man. I'm looking at the sponsor read for later. Shut up.
Nice. And as always, Chris, usually you always change your occupation.
I'm a lawyer.
You're a lawyer?
No. We said it was something else or whatever.
I'm an undercover cop who's playing a lawyer.
No, last week you said you were going to be a fry cook this week.
Well, you know,
Can you name a type of lawyer, not just lawyer?
Yeah, a business lawyer.
No.
Jesus.
you know, you kind of look like an undercover cop in the thumbnail we just sent out.
Yeah.
You can check it out on roosterteeth.com, or I tweeted it, and then there's a few places I've tweeted it. But Blaine, you're looking tough. Chris is looking tough. Me and Brandon, for some reason, are looking like
Y'all
bad
look
guys.
like the bad, because y'all have that kind of like...
Sinister.
Are you saying that because we are... JJ's brown and I'm a slight shade of brown? Is that what it is?
No, it's just posture. Me and Blaine are like...
Fronting up. And
I'm more olive.
You look like we had a fan on you and your like coat's flowing. It's a pretty cool pose.
Oh, yeah, no, I can see that.
There it is.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's like you know, it's interesting because whenever we put up the thumbnails, I always kind of have an idea of what the fans are going to do with it. Like, I'm like, oh, this is going to be romantic comedy. This is going to be a buddy comedy. With this one, I have no idea.
Dude, Blaine, you look awesome.
Like huge.
That should be that should replace your shitty cover or headshot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll look into that.
We'll put your Tinder cover photo.
Yeah.
I deleted Tinder, actually.
You do. How many times have you deleted Tinder?
Yeah, that is a constant like struggle with
I'm
you.
on like, I think this is like 6-time delete or 5th or 6-time delete.
He'll be back.
Well, the first time, it's like there's this movie Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal that's out right now. It's really, really great. Well, it's out on DVD, I think. But he's talking about like cheating on his wife, or about like governments like fucking up, but and then feeling bad for it. But they always say like the first time is a tragedy, the second time is a farce. So that's how I feel about you deleting Tinder. It's like the first time is a tragedy, like this is really disrupt my life. But now every single time you do it, it's just like this ongoing joke because you're going to constantly keep installing it.
I just feel like it's relapse.
That's exactly
like
what it is.
You have an anonymous like group you have to go to of like Tinder addicts.
Wait a minute, guys. I feel like we're missing something. We haven't. Oh, that's right. We haven't introduced the video store. It is Miss Andy. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing good until someone booed me over there.
Someone booed you?
It's Blaine.
It was the internet. I see you got a Troy and Abed shirt on. Well, what's that from?
It's from Community.
Now, can you do the Troy and Abed in the morning?
Troy and Abed in the morning.
Oh, God. Jesus.
Mandy, how many more weeks do you have at your internship? Just like a couple, right?
Because we're tired of you.
Yes.
Huh?
Oh, are you tired of me? I'll leave. I'm sorry.
Get your fill of Mandy.
Get your phone. Wow. Man, that'll be a shirt next week. All right, so as you guys know, I was in New York this past week doing some Mockingjay promotion stuff and hanging out with at the
No
press.
big deal.
No big deal, NBD. But
Did you get that from McDonald's?
No, I didn't.
Do you like Happy Meals?
Well, you know, it's funny because like people were like, some of the press people were there like, oh, they got this really cool pin. You can keep it, or you could put it on eBay and probably get a lot of money for it. Because I bit this thing, dude. Like it is metal. Like
Why? What made you want to eat it?
Because I want to see if I could bend it. I want to see if it was a piece of shit.
There's a lot of things that I pick up, but I never once were like, well, I should see if I could bend this with my teeth.
It's like some prospector shit.
What about this? I bet you can't bend this glass with your teeth.
I could.
Let's keep
JJ comes from a mining town.
No. We got time. But you know, it's funny you said because in New
Bite.
York they were doing this news story on the news, and they were talking about how like Ebola scares, and there was an Ebola guy, and he was around. But they were like talking about everything. They were like, he went to a bowling alley in Brooklyn, and he did bowl. And it's like, well, of course he did.
Yeah.
But somebody came out, and some like spokesperson for the police or the medical facilities were saying like, if you come across any unknown mucus around this time about like on subways or on sidewalks, just like don't touch it or put it in your mouth. And it's like, because right now this is the only time you don't do that.
Yeah. That guy's day
That
was
mucus.
exhausting.
I
They
was
went
hungry.
through all the things he did
Yeah.
when he had Ebola, and I was like, it's tiring me out.
I think my favorite moment in New York was I was meeting up some old friends, and I was in a total like, I don't know, all right, Brooklyn kind of dive bar, and my friends were hanging out with this girl, and they were like, oh, you should meet her. She's an artist. And I was like, what kind of artist? And they're like, oh, she does like video art, and she's kind of. I was like, oh, cool. So I went up to talk to her. She's like really tall, blonde, taller than me, and she was like super artsy. And I was like, hey, so what kind of video art do you make, and how would you explain it? And she was like, I don't know if I can like even sum up like what my art is. Like, unless you work for the Guggenheim, like I'm not even gonna try to. And I was like, are you fucking
Yeah.
JJ found someone more pretentious.
Exactly. It was crazy.
God.
It was like Gulliver's Travels. Like I was pretentious.
I am your king.
and
What happened?
But it was crazy because I was like, do you have any idea that like the sentence you just said is like a comic strip sentence? Like
Yeah.
she have no idea how douchey you're being. And then she asked me what I did. And I told her I worked in film and like, you know, media and stuff. And she was like, oh, well. And I started asking about cameras, like what kind of cameras you use. And she was like, well, I just use whatever cameras the school has that day. And she just kind of like bottled up. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Miranda July wannabe.
It's funny because she just epitomizes why the modernist movement in art and film failed, because the entire idea of it was very like inclusive.
Yeah.
And like you can't, like the whole point is, well, you don't get it. Like, and it's just like, well, if we can't get this, what's the point of it? And I think that's why you don't see any like modernist movies anymore.
Well, there was this one guy.
Everything's postmodern.
There was this one guy on the website on Rooster Teeth that was like, man, I'm just waiting for a week where JJ doesn't have to talk about P.T. Anderson in an episode. And I was like, you know, like that, I get it. That is kind of like, he's kind of, you know, high art or whatever. But at least I'm not talking about like Godard or Fellini every week. Cause like, I mean, I don't know.
lose everyone if you did that.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys even like Godard.
Did he do Breathless?
I think he did Breathless, or is that Fellini? I think it's Godard.
Breathless is awesome. If you were okay with foreign films, I would highly recommend. Breathless is one of the best foreign films I've seen.
Well, we got an interview coming up here. I got to sit down with the lovely and beautiful and super like talented Natalie Dormer, who you might know as Marjorie
Tyrell.
There you go, from Game of Thrones, and she was in The Tudors and a bunch of
I know
stuff.
her.
Yeah, of course you know her. I was talking to my friend. In New York, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I got to interview Natalie Dormer. He's like, who's that? I was like, she was in Game of Thrones. She's like Marjorie Tyrell. He's like, oh, is that like the really pretty chick with like that's always almost showing her boobs? And I was like, yeah, but
She's shown her boobs a few times
Yeah.
in Game of Thrones.
good to know.
Yeah.
She's
Chris-
very attractive.
Chris, you Chris, you could work for Mr. Skin.
Yeah, they call me up and I'm like, all right, I'll tell you.
Let me check my TV right
I've got a
now.
database
Yeah.
in my head.
Well, the really cool thing about being in New York and the whole Hunger Games thing is, I think Woody Harrelson was doing Saturday Night Live this week, and most of the cast showed up and kind of surprised him on the show that we this past Saturday. But they were all literally in a Hyatt hotel with me and a bunch of press people a few hours before SNL. And it was everybody. It was Josh Hutcherson. It was Hemsworth. It was Prim. The girl who plays Prim was even there. And then Jennifer Lawrence, obviously. Jeffrey Wright. Donald Sutherland. Julianne Moore. And seeing Julianne Moore on stage, I just wanted to yell like lines from 30 Rock at her. Because she's like that total like Bostonian, hey, Jack. Like, you know, and it was, I don't know. It was kind of freaking out. But
Was Philip Seymour Hoffman there?
he was in spirit, asshole.
I was gonna make
Too
that
soon.
joke. I was going to make that joke. I was like, nah.
It was
really
just
a joke?
sitting there. Somebody had to say something.
Well, the director said he didn't want to digitally
All right, that guy right there at the very
recreate
end.
him in the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
movies.
He looks like Philip Seymour
No,
Hoffman.
that's Francis Lawrence.
I got freaked out because I was like, holy shit.
That's the director, Francis Lawrence. And yeah, so that's my awful cell phone footage. But I showed up super late, and I expected to have awful seating. But when I showed up, it was such a small room, and it was so nice, and I was like in the third row. It was super awesome. And Jennifer Lawrence, let me just say, just as stunning in real life. She's so pretty. And, you know, people are always wondering, is she putting on a show, an act, when she's doing that whole, like, osh, gosh, oh, jolly, golly, I shouldn't have said that. Like, after, like, watching her talk and hang out for an hour, like, I'm convinced that's really her. Like, she was talking about they were talking about the great locations, this really pretty lake, and she said, "Oh, I remember that lake. I took a selfie of me peeing in it." And everyone on stage,
She was like, yeah, I saw that.
like everyone just went like, "Oh my god, Jennifer!" Like, you know, like they didn't know what to do with it. But yeah, she's just like off the cuff. She just says whatever she wants.
Yeah, she seems really cool.
Yeah, like I
She's
really
extremely likable.
I always wondered if it was an act, and I really don't think. And she talked about how she keeps herself grounded by hanging out with She said it's really alienating. She's like, when people look at me, whenever I go to like events and people like the way they look at me, it's almost like alienating because they're looking at me like they're expecting me to do these amazing things, and I just feel like me. So she says she surrounds herself with like friends that she's known for her whole life that never look at her that way.
Like normal people. Yeah, that's cool.
And what was really cool is Natalie Dormer even said during the press conference, she's like, I just want everyone to know that this woman, Jennifer Lawrence, has no ego whatsoever. She like just does not care, and I thought that was pretty awesome.
So cool. Did you see the movie?
I saw the movie, yeah, and it was interesting because like I remember when the first Hunger Games came out, like I was jumping on that whole YA thing, like Twilight had just kind of died down, so like Hunger Games was kind of ramping up. And I didn't want to like it because I was like, this is like some bullshit PG-13 battle royale. Like I expected the death scenes and I expected the violence to be really kind of like, like safe.
Young adult.
Yeah, and then when I saw it, and it was way more bloodier than I expected, and way more intense. I was like, I kind of like this movie. And Catching Fire was good, but what I like about this one, and what I was worried about, was that this is the first movie that there's no games going on. Like there's that whole, which is the first two movies in general are about the game. So there's a movie, no games are going on. I was curious how it would play off, and it kind of feels a little bit like when they cut Harry Potter in half, like you can tell that like they're totally preparing you for the second half of the story. There's still a lot of intense moments in this movie.
Did you say she only fired the arrow like once?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything. Someone in the press comments brought that up to the cast and director. Is like, did you guys realize that she only shoots one arrow in the entire movie? And they're like, oh, I guess I never thought of it like that. But it's a well-used arrow, I will say that.
I thought the first movie was okay. I'd never read the books, but I loved the second movie because it was all about manipulation. It was all about war. It was all about propaganda. And there was only like a small section that was actually about the games. And everything in the Hunger Games tournament was all about facilitating that plan that they had. Like there was always something that was up.
I haven't, I have the books at home, and I'm like waiting to watch the movies before I like read the books. I just haven't gotten to reading the books yet. But which would you recommend?
I'm always the opposite. My feeling is there's a million books out there that are really, really, really good. There's not a ton of really great movies. That's why I don't really want to read Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones is not the best book ever written. I'm sure it's fantastic, but I would assume you can't say it's the best thing ever made. But the Game of Thrones show might be one of the best shows ever made. So I feel like I'm better off trying to watch the movies or the TV shows than read the book.
No, I mean, I read all the books. To me, the first book was the best. Second book was second best. Third book I liked the least. So I'll be interested. I'm really interested to see the movies because.
Yeah.
Which movie did you like more, the first or second? Hunger Games.
I think I like the second one better. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I have a favorite over the two.
Well, it's already messing with your like.
Yeah, that's just saying. I think the third movies. I mean, I think in the book, a lot of the battle stuff wasn't really like translated. She didn't write it in a way that was easy to visualize.
Yeah.
But I think it'll lend itself way more for a film.
Imagination.
Well, I will say, like, I thought it worked really well. The Mockingjay part one, way more political than the other. Like, there's little touches of politics, not overly political like the prequel Star Wars movies where you feel like you're watching C-SPAN. But they are definitely more political. Like, this is more of a propaganda war they're having at this point, where like you have the Capitol releasing videos that are telling one story, and they have PETA and they have some of the other champions with them, and then you have the I guess what would be like the rebels, like the Mockingjay crew, like trying to like release their own videos to combat those videos.
Are they like a really shitty, lower quality video?
No, actually,
like
it's
VHS.
Really, well, that was one of the things I really liked about like whenever they do the broadcast on the Hunger Games movies, is like the cameras are super futuristic and they're like traveling around and doing stuff, and that's really cool. So Natalie Dormer plays Cressida, who's and we'll see the interview here in a sec. She'll talk more about it, but she's a director. She's like directing the campaign. So she's like trying to get the shot and the sound bites, and she's talking like a director. And the guys that are running camera have like these really awesome like helmet, like it's like it looks like an armadillo on their back, like all their gear, but it's super futuristic like film gear, and it's cool. So I mean I like that because obviously we work in media, work with cameras, so like that part of the story really spoke out.
I like armadillos, so I'm looking forward to it.
Let us know if you're watching the show right now live on Twitter. You can tweet us at RT Screenplay, or if you're watching on YouTube, let us know which is your favorite Hunger Games story / movie, and which you prefer, the book or the films. Now let's go over to Andy. Andy, I don't think we've done the quote, have we?
We haven't, no.
Let's do it.
You want to hear it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. It is, get busy living or get busy dying.
I'm pretty sure. I think I know that one.
That's a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
So,
I can hear his voice.
Do you know it, Chris?
It was in one of our shorts too. We parodied it.
Chris, will you do the quote in the voice from that movie?
I think Matt was the one. I think who.
Yeah.
I can't.
Mr. Dufresne.
That's it. All right, we're giving away too much. Okay, so before we go any further, let's go ahead and check out the interview because we've been pushing it a lot, and I know people want to see beautiful Miss Natalie Dormer. So let's go check out this interview with me hanging out with Natalie Dormer in New York, and then we'll be right back. Hey guys, JJ here, sit with Natalie Dormer, plays a new character in Mockingjay, part 1. So you play a director. And so let me ask you, because you've been directed a lot, you've been in The Tudors, you Game of Thrones, now you're in this. Was there any certain director that you were pulling from?
There wasn't one inspiration to give me my characterization. She's an interesting creature though, because she's a documentary filmmaker, so she's slightly different from the guys I work with ordinarily. She's more like an embedded embedded sort of journalist, war correspondent almost. So I was also inspired by, you know, basically just turning on my news and watching news footage and watching people report from across the world.
So she's always trying to get the shot, she's always trying to get the soundbite, and that's kind of her main operative. But I can see that she's starting to she's starting to really believe in this movement. And so what was it about Cressida that really spoke to you as far as a character?
Yeah, I think you're right. She's wholeheartedly in with the movement already. Like, she's part of Plutarch's underground. That's how she comes to District 13. She wants to overthrow Snow, 100%. What she begins to believe in is Katniss Everdeen, because to begin with, it's irrelevant to her whether she is the real thing or not. She can package her and sell her as the Mockingjay. So it's irrelevant to her at first whether Katniss feels that she actually is. But in spending a lot of time with her, she believes in her and watches Katniss fall for herself, so believe in herself. So
when I was watching the film, I was writing notes to have to ask you, and I just read one note and it just said, "Dat hairdo." Dat hairdo. So the hair and the accent and the face tattoos is such a transformation from what most fans are used to you as.
Well, most American fans would not be used to seeing me or hearing me like that, yeah.
Can we hear a little bit of the accent right now, or does it take a while to
I get paid for that shit.
Exactly.
No, I mean, you know, I've played quite a few Americans in my time. It's just that I'm mainly known for Marjorie Terrell at the moment. So that's where the biggest exposure for me is. So, yeah, and it's a fantastic, and that's why I grabbed that role with both hands, because it's such a departure in the way she looks and moves and talks from Marjorie. And it was time to shake it up a bit and you know, challenge perceptions of me a little bit.
So for you, you're on Game of Thrones, you always have new actors every season come in and introduced to this world. So now it's your turn to join an already kind of established universe. What was it like kind of stepping foot on set of something that's already just so well known around the world?
Yeah, I mean, I'd had experience with it because I stepped into Game of Thrones in season 2. But, so I'd been absorbed into an already functioning family before. But, you know, it's just a joy. It's not scary at all because the cast is so warm and friendly and fun on the Hunger Games that you immediately feel, you know, like you're amalgamated into it. And yeah, I mean, 9 months is a long time, man. You know, it's like we all got to know each other, all saw the best and worst of each other in those 9 months. And it's a very special experience that I won't ever forget.
Well, Natalie, thank you for the time. You're a badass in this movie. And I can't wait to see what happens in part 2.
Lovely. Lovely to meet you.
And we're back. So that was me hanging out with Miss Dormer, and I was totally smitten. She was awesome, and
she's very pretty.
Yeah. She's very pretty, and I wasn't expecting her to to just go off when I asked her to do the American accent. That was amazing. I was blown away. I've not seen her. She was saying that she's done other films with American accents. I couldn't think of any off the top of my head, so I was.
Was she in Captain America?
Was she in Captain America?
Oh shit! She was the chick that he kissed. She like pulled him in. She's like, "This is for every American woman or whatever."
Oh wow,
that was her.
Yeah, she was back in like the 40s.
Nice.
call.
Oh, I looked her up in Game of Thrones. I was like, she's so pretty.
She's very
What else has she been in?
Yeah, man, she's super proper, and she's like a little intimidating. Like how,
She pulls off that like side thing.
dude, very few chicks can go like, you know, either like that short of hair or even like mohawk sideburn or whatever, like whatever she's doing, and
She
she
can.
still looks great.
Yeah.
And she's a badass. I wanted to ask her like if she liked any punk rocker stuff, but we didn't have that much time because she looks.
Want to get a beer later?
Yeah, like,
Natalie?
want to get a beer later or what?
You know, whatever.
No, she was really swell. So let's go ahead and talk about. Really quickly, I just want to say that I got this weird letter. It was like in an unmarked envelope, and it showed up for me today. And it's a letter from
All
like,
this white powder in it?
No, it's like from District 13. Yeah, it's anthrax. But no, it's not even from the studios. It's like literally like it says it's from District 13, and then they gave me some crazy
Hanky.
Oh, that's really cool.
Blow
I
your
love when
nose.
they take it seriously.
Yeah,
like
I know
that.
when they get really cool with it.
That's really cool marketing.
And then they said like I'll be getting more instructions in the future for some stuff. So, do you remember when The Dark Knight was doing their crazy?
Oh, newspapers.
It's exactly what I was thinking about. I would not be surprised if the marketing budget for The Dark Knight was as much as making the actual movie. Like I'm not exaggerating.
What
Like
did they do?
the marketing,
They did
it was
genius
everywhere.
things.
It was
a lot of
it was-
viral campaigns.
You
stuff,
walk
yeah.
down, viral campaigns, but you can also you watch any TV, you see it. You walk down L.A., New York, any other city, it's everywhere.
Well,
that was easily $100 million campaign.
Yeah, but they were sending stuff out. Like they sent Perez Hilton like they sent him a cake, right? And then like the cake was all like already done up, and then it showed up, and he was just looking at it, and then the cake started ringing, and there was a phone baked into the cake.
Oh,
and
man.
it was a making fun of that scene from the movie where the guy has the phone inside of him.
Yeah.
See, we've never put a phone in any of the cakes we've sent to Perez Hilton.
That's
the
what's
problem.
why the
No,
problem is-
totally unconnected. Chris has actually had a phone inside of him.
What?
Patrick just gasped. I was just fucking around, but like, our director just went, "Whoop."
I'm like, I don't remember this.
Or a hamster.
What did you
I
put
forget.
in my drink?
Oh my god!
What was that conversation we were having before? I guess it was
I'm totally off the rails
No,
here.
it was like something about Die Hard and how I just realized that. Okay, so John McClane was a New York cop who
You were
went
so
to Los
proud of that.
Angeles. Well, no, it's cool.
That's about Blue Ruin. We can talk about that in a bit, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, he was a New York cop that went to Los Angeles, and then Die Hard 2, he was a Los Angeles cop caught in New York.
Yeah.
And I remember he was like fighting with that New York cop. He's like, I used to be one of you. And then
Cop in the city,
And
pig
then
in the
3,
city.
he was back to New York, and then I guess 4 and 5, he was New York again. I don't know. It's interesting.
That's a nice little tangent there, Blaine.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling
Die Hard.
Lionsgate whenever I was leaving, I was like, "Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for having me in New York and everything." And they're like, "Yeah, you know, thanks for covering this stuff, and you know, it's really cool that you're going to put on the show." And I was like, "Yeah, you know, I know you guys are like a small little indie film, and I just want to try my best to get more of an audience out there because I know you're going to have trouble getting people out there." I was like, "Dude, no one could say anything about Mockingjay. Like, no one could say any press or promotion, and people are still going to go to that fucking movie like in droves, and they should. It's a lot of fun."
Yeah, I think they really deserve it, especially after that second movie. It was fantastic.
So let's go about a little bit back into kind of summer movie fun times. Guardians of the Galaxy, still a really awesome movie. I can't wait till it gets released in Blu-ray, and hopefully they'll release it in 3D because I'm still one of the few people that actually watches movies at my house in 3D. But if you're a human being and you have a heartbeat, then you love the music in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like everyone, that's a great out. That's
The soundtrack,
it's up there with like
that
Forrest
thing.
Gump and stuff. Like as far as great soundtracks, but you can get it today. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I apologize. But today only, using the Google Play Store, you can download the entire Guardians of the Galaxy album for free. You're welcome. Ooga chaka.
Yeah.
Ooga ooga.
That wasn't even like, we're not even sponsored by them, but like,
No, I just
you
think it's
should
awesome.
just go get
You
it
should
because
just
it's
do
that
it.
good of a fucking soundtrack.
It's funny you bring up the Forrest Gump soundtrack. It's like, let's take the most, like the famous song from every decade and throw
Yeah.
it in this movie.
Totally. That's the Forrest Gump soundtrack is like 2-3 disc or something. I think it's like it's not just one CD.
Every time I see a helicopter, like and I'm stuck in traffic or something, I'll pull up Creedence Clearwater Revival's Fortunate Son. If I ever take like any sort of like piloting lessons
Yeah.
for helicopters, I will be blasting that.
I don't know. Did we talk about this already? Like someone was. It might have been when we weren't rolling on camera, but we have the Titanic VHS, right?
Yeah.
And it's
two
VHS. And
yeah.
someone, I think was it Andy? Someone said, "Oh, what? You guys have 2 copies of Titanic?" We're like, "No." Like when VHSs came out, like they cut it in half.
Yeah,
Like
Magnolia was like
kid.
that.
Braveheart was like that too.
Yeah, I had both.
That reminds me of Netflix. Like at least I think they did this on other devices. They just start on the Apple TV. It just goes from one episode to the other.
Yeah.
But after like 4 episodes, it stops and it's just like, are you still watching?
Yeah.
And you have
Yeah.
this moment of reflection. Be like,
Shit.
I am. Maybe I should. Maybe I should go outside or. Maybe.
Well, video games do that too, right? They're like, you should take a break.
Oh,
right?
fuck that. They need to stop doing that bullshit. Yeah.
I want to fuck my eyes up.
People have died. I remember there was a guy. It might have been in South
People
Korea.
died. Oh,
who was playing a
husband and wife. It was a
MMO
husband and wife
at a internet cafe,
That's right.
and he just died.
I think it's StarCraft, yeah.
Oh, that was a story. That guy played it till he actually died. And there's another story where a mother and like a husband and wife would go to the internet cafe, and they had a digital like character, like a digital child, and they would get older with time, and they'd spend all their time raising this baby that their baby at home died. And that is, I think that's ironic. I don't know.
I wonder what happened to my Tamagotchi. I think he's
Like, haunting
He's
you.
still waiting.
yeah.
It's just,
Feed me.
he's got poop everywhere. He needs you to clean it.
The screen's just covered in shit.
For those of you who are under the age of 50,
Well, they always
the
say-
Tamagotchi was a little game
Digital
that you could
pet.
put on
Digital
your
pet.
keychain, a digital pet, and then every now and then it would cry, and you'd have to feed it. And,
Or discipline it, or do whatever.
There was this one teacher who, she was just like, we hated her, but she had what we would call the Tamagotchi graveyard. It was her desk, and she would steal
she took
all
everyone's
these dead
Tamagotchis.
Tamagotchis. I worked for a toy store, and they had like, they brought Tamagotchis back like, not but like
Did
5
they?
years ago.
Really?
Well,
For a
they-
very
It was
brief
like
amount of time.
yo-yos. Remember when yo-yos came back and
Oh,
like
man, they
everybody
came
had
back,
to yeah.
man.
How did that happen?
I still got my Dunkin' at home. It's purple.
Is it cyclical? Like every 60 years,
Just bring
there's a
back
new-
toys.
I'm sorry,
Some
we're getting.
lead-based pain is coming back. Watch out for it.
Well, they always say that like those like the kids, like those weird bully kids that always like torture or beat up or do awful things to pets, like are going to be serial killers. Do you think that translates to Tamagotchis? Do you think like if you like people that kill their Tamagotchis purposefully?
Maybe they like grew a heart.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if you've played The Sims, we've all killed our Sims.
Yeah, take the ladder out of that swimming pool. Let's see.
See what happens. All right, so going back to Guardians of the Galaxy, so Chris Pratt and Anna Faris and I think James Gunn were all doing interviews lately, and the news came out that Chris Pratt, if Chris Pratt wasn't Star-Lord, the guy that was going to be casted as Star-Lord, I don't see this at all.
No.
Glenn Howerton, otherwise known as Dennis, from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Just can't see it.
I just started watching that show about a month ago because like I'd only seen like an episode here or there. And my impression was like it's just a bunch of guys talking like this, and really quickly it was like the Gilmore Girls. But I got into it and it's funny. But he's probably the worst human being. The character.
He's so
not
good
the
at- he's so
actor.
good at it, though.
He's probably the worst human being ever. Like the guy from Clockwork Orange,
Malcolm
probably number
McDowell,
one.
Yeah.
And then Dennis, like literally,
Like the dentist system.
The
and all
dentist
that.
system,
Yeah,
all the
he's
things he do,
rotten.
all the things he do, like videotaping girls or just whatever he's doing is super creepy. But here's the thing: is like I feel like a lot of Guardians' success had a lot to do with like
Golden
girls
guy.
that who just like were smitten with Chris Pratt. Like everyone loves like that like kind of adorable silly guy, and so all these girls were like, I don't know about action movies and I don't know about whatever, but I like this guy from Parks and Rec, so I'll go
Right.
watch it. Whereas I feel like using Dennis would have done the complete opposite.
Fuck this movie.
And I can't see him being genuine. I could just see him just trying to bang Gamora like the whole time,
Hey,
like the
Gamora.
entire time, really creepily too.
There's a cool story with Will Smith. There's all these happenstances of actors being offered roles and they turn them down, and then you find out the movie does well. He was offered Neo in The
Yeah.
Matrix.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He turned it down, and he was like, "No, I didn't regret that because I watched The Matrix and I was watching Keanu Reeves, and I was like, well, I would have messed that up."
Yeah.
Like seeing someone else's interpretation. And I guess if you're Will Smith, it doesn't matter because you're already a huge star. But it's always cool to find out those stories and
Yeah.
try to imagine what the movie would be like.
I'll tell you what, I would only enjoy Dennis as Star-Lord if like Danny DeVito was Rocket Raccoon, if like Charlie was like the what's his name, Destroyer?
Drax.
Yeah, Drax, and then Sweet D was Gamora. Like that's
I'd watch that.
I would have watched the shit out of that movie.
I love Charlie Day.
Oh, Charlie Day's great. He's the one that's really blown up, I think, out of all that cast. I think Dennis has done. He was in The Strangers. Mac, I've not seen Mac in anything.
Have you seen Horrible Bosses?
The
Charlie
sequels,
Day,
sequel, yeah.
yeah,
the
Charlie's
sequel's
great.
coming out in a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
I mean, I love that first one. I was
Yeah,
so
it's really
surprised
funny.
by
He
it.
was, I think he was like the best part.
Well, he was in Pacific Rim too. He played
Yeah.
the doctor or the scientist, and then he was the voice. He was voices in right back to back. He was voices in Monsters Inc. or Monsters University.
University.
And then he was the spaceship guy in the Lego movie.
I think
Spaceship!
Mac. Oh, that's right. Spaceship.
Yeah, he was really good.
That was fucking funny. Mac is, I think he's more of a behind the scenes guy because he's developing.
He's directing a movie.
Yeah, and then do you know he's married to Sweet D? That's not
Yeah,
a big
Sweet D.
surprise.
And Sweet D every now and then will show up like in things like Curb Your Enthusiasm stuff.
Yeah.
And The
It's-
Waitress and a bunch of other sitcoms.
Yeah, and
She's
Charlie
married to Charlie
Day's
Day.
wife.
Yeah,
It's
which is-
really
that's
funny
hilarious.
to watch that show knowing that and seeing their interactions. But yeah.
All right, so you guys remember Space Jam, right?
Yeah.
This is there's not really a lot to talk about here, but it's just
Come
hilarious.
on and
So,
jam.
I think the website just turned 18 and it's still super 90s.
It's like a time capsule.
Like it is like it looks even older than like MySpace. Like it has like that awful flash art and GIF.
Take a look, Mandy. You see that?
Look at that.
That's how the past was.
That's history.
When do you guys think I was born?
Aren't you like a year
94?
older than?
Yeah, seriously.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
A woman never tells you. Never ask a lady how old she is.
Yeah.
Come
How old
on.
are you? How much do you weigh?
What'd you eat for lunch today? That's awkward. No, whenever I was doing that documentary stuff, and I was talking to Freddie W, and it's funny because you see a few like old style GIFs in there, and he's like, man, he calls them GIFs, and he was saying,
Son of a bitch.
he was saying, you know what, like if you would have told me like in the 90s, like that like under construction guy like on the website that GIF thing that's gonna take off and even rival video at some point, it's gonna be this huge new thing on the internet, I'd say like yeah, like whatever, but it's true, like GIFs, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I think it's You're the Man Now Dog.
Yeah,
Like it took
YT
all of those
Mandy.
great
Yeah.
things and like created a thing like
Yeah.
that became like comedy
I
within
went.
itself.
I was lost in YTMND for like the longest time.
I had a friend like
It's
that.
Really
where
good.
I was like, you need to get away from your computer.
It's addicting.
It needs to
Yeah.
have a thing like Netflix. Are you still here?
Sure,
Like,
yeah.
go outside.
The barrel roll gifts were the best. If you love barrel rolls from Star Fox 64, look up barrel rolls.
I like the Mad Max one where it's the guy where he's just yelling. I think his name was like Drez or something. He's like and yeah. You have
Well, those
to
are all
blink
fun.
dump, blink
Yeah,
dump.
Max Headroom and all your base now belong to us.
Yeah.
All the new ground
There's a lot of good American
There's
Psycho
a lot of
gifs.
great. Hey, Mandy, is anything going crazy on the internet? What's the internet kind of saying right now?
Honestly, a lot of people are just saying how much they love Natalie Dormer, which I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Also arguing about which Hunger Games movie was better, whether the books are better than movies.
Yeah.
Generally, a lot of people say that the movies did a really good job of, bringing the books to life, but some people just like the books more.
That's what Donald Sutherland said during and that was the weird thing. Like you have the whole cast and everyone just wants to talk to Josh Hutcherson and Jennifer Lawrence for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And Prim was there and everyone was there. But like sitting behind them, you have Donald Sutherland and Julianne Moore, and these people are like legends in their own,
crazy.
and if they're just kind of sitting playing like back fiddle or whatever. But Donald Sutherland did say like, I think that these movies are really important because it makes people question like bad government, and it's very political, and maybe like these young kids will be like of age at some point and they will go vote, and he had a really good point.
So
Yeah.
speaking of bad government in movies that speak out against that, we were talking about this earlier. V for Vendetta is one of those movies.
Oh yeah, Alan Moore.
Alan
stuff.
Moore, another one of his properties just got picked up to make. I think it was Hellspawn or something.
No, I don't know. The things of his that have been made into movies. That
Well,
he
he's got
hates.
another one. Alan Moore he did Watchmen. He did V for Vendetta,
Vendetta, From Hell with Johnny Depp.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, I
he
like From Hell.
fucking hates Hollywood, but he's so good that they keep on wanting to make his stuff into
Well,
movies.
he's so crazy, but like
He's
you're-
nuts.
but
He has his own
you
religion.
want your artist to be crazy a little bit.
He's
like,
fucking like he has refused to have any sort of like connection to Watchmen. He didn't want his name on any of those.
Frank Miller was like that. He didn't want to do Sin City for the longest time.
Wow,
because
he's
I think he did.
flopped.
He did a RoboCop, and then I guess he watched RoboCop 3, and he was like, I'm done.
Yeah, that
I'm
would
not
turn you
doing
off.
this anymore." And then that's when Rodriguez made that spec piece that floated around for Sin City for a long time with Josh Hartnett.
yeah.
Who was really dreaming at the time.
Well, yeah, because they did The Faculty together.
Yeah, and so he was like, "Look, we can do this right,"
Yeah.
and then got on board. And then I think everybody now is seeing all the money is in adapting graphic novels into movies, graphic novels / just superhero comic book movies.
There was a time where saying
Like,
comic book was almost like taboo, like, and a lot of like I
Yeah.
remember because it was Road to Perdition was the one, because Road to Perdition is an amazing movie. Sam Mendes did American Beauty, was like the movie he did after American Beauty. It's got Tom Hanks, Jude Law.
History of Violence is another one of those.
Yeah, but the thing is, they kept
Crow.
calling it graphic novels. They kept referring to it as graphic novels because
Not
they didn't
comic
want to
book.
come out and say comic book.
Yeah.
I think Spider-Man was like, I think X-Men came out first, but Spider-Man blew up. Like Spider-Man made crazy money, and I think after that, the floodgates opened. Like what was the last big comic book movie before X-Men / Spider-Man? Spawn.
I mean, yeah, there's
the
Batman
Batman
one, but I
franchise.
mean, even going further back, a lot of these comic books were big on TV. I guess the serial nature of the comic books kind of lent itself well to TV. But I mean, they had Hulk and Wonder Woman.
Oh, the
and
TV
all
shows,
those
you're right,
cartoons.
yeah.
There's so many
Oh,
cartoons.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And then eventually, 20 years later, they made their way into mega movies. Like, I think
films, yeah.
Superman stopped making films
Well, I mean,
in the 80s.
The 90s were chock full of movie versions of TV shows, like the Brady Bunch, like Addams Family, like it was just like everyone was making TV shows and movies, so it was only a matter of time before the Hulk or.
I'm wondering if video game adaptations of movies is really going to catch on like comic books.
Man,
have.
people have been saying that for years.
There's yet to be a really good one that breaks the barrier.
It's on the horizon because they're doing the Assassin's Creed movie and they're doing it right.
Maybe it's gonna be WoW. Maybe it'll be Warcraft.
There's Warcraft. They're going to be. I think there's been talks of a Bioshock
and then
movie.
last
been
week I
talks
found
about an Uncharted game,
Yeah, the
too.
Uncharted
Yeah.
movie is going to be written by the same guy that wrote Zero Dark 30 and The Hurt Locker. And I think he approached them because he's a big fan of
Some
the game.
Tom Clancy stuff that have been he's books, but he went to video games.
Yeah,
Tomb
so
Raider?
it's kind of a circle.
Sam Fisher. they're
Is
gonna be-
Tomb Raider the most successful comic or video game adaptation ever?
Maybe.
That's
I'm curious.
there's a
We
pretty
should
good chance.
find out, Andy.
one of the best
She's on it. So while she's looking that up, I want to talk about Interstellar a little bit. We talked about it last week. So right now, AMC is selling an unlimited watch Interstellar as many times as you want, which is interesting. You see that happen every now and then. Like, it's very rare. I think the Draft House did it for Anchorman 2. And I just don't know if they did that because a lot of people wanted to see Anchorman 2 or just because the theaters were empty. And they're like, you can come buy the ticket once, see it as many times as you want.
Please.
But Interstellar, it's like I think it's a little bit more expensive than a regular ticket, but you get to see it as many times as you want. And then so last week I was talking about how people were upset by a lot of the projections and the sound, and a lot of people were blaming it on projectors not knowing how to run film projections anymore. And there was all this hubbub. But now some theaters, this one Cinemark theater, put a sign outside their building and said, like, there it is. It says, like, please note that all our sound equipment is functioning properly. Christopher Nolan mixed the soundtrack with an emphasis on music. This is how it is intended to sound.
Oh, pushing the blame.
I like that Apple U there.
Yeah, and then
underlined.
so once Cinemark, the company, saw that was taken off like wildfire on the internet, they like contacted that theater, said take it down, and it turned into a whole thing. And Chris Nolan wouldn't say anything about it, and then he finally responded a few days ago, and he said. This is what he said. He said, "I've always loved films that approach sound in an impressionistic way, and that is an unusual approach for a mainstream blockbuster. But I feel it's the right approach for this experimental film. Many of the filmmakers I've admired over the years have used sound in bold and adventurous ways. I don't agree with the idea that you can only achieve clarity through dialogue, clarity of a story, clarity of emotions. I try to achieve that in a very layered way, using all the different things at my disposal, picture and sound."
I think you've seen a lot of movies do that. There was a really awesome Western with Warren Beatty, I think, of McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and you can only understand half the stuff that's ever talked about in that movie, which I think is fine. The issue with Interstellar is it's so driven by dialogue as it relates to the plot. If you miss 30 seconds, all of a sudden you have to spend 3 minutes trying to figure out by what they're doing what the plan was. So I agree with his philosophy, and I think that's really cool, and I think you saw Gravity do that a lot.
Yeah.
But if it's like he's trying to do two completely different things that don't necessarily link up. Because if people can't hear what they're saying, they don't know what's.
Well, it's funny you say Gravity, because Gravity is getting re-released, like they're calling like the Legend Diamond release or something. But it's getting re-released, and there's a whole audio track where you can watch the movie without the score. So
Really?
Space is just like silent.
No,
And, like-
that score was awesome. That guy did Fury, fucking good.
But I wonder
music.
if that's Interstellar, because Interstellar, there's a lot of times in space where it's just silent.
Yeah.
You know, and it adds a whole another feel to
I mean,
it.
it's just a different experience.
Have you
It's
totally
not- it's
different
like-
experience.
You know, when we watch our edits, and it's like, what's the one thing that we always say? If you add some music onto this, it'll really
This
kind of
sucks.
drive it. Yeah, well, no, like music is a really integral part. Okay, can I go off the rails real quick?
Yeah.
I saw a movie that was the perfect marriage between music and visuals. It was called, what was it? It was that drummer movie, Whiplash.
Oh,
with
I've been hearing nothing but
J.K.
good
Simmons.
things about that
It
movie.
was fucking good. It was incredible, and the way that they shot it, it was like a 2-hour music video. Basically, it was
I did
really
check it
awesome.
out because we watched Blue Ruin this week, and that was because Gilby was telling me all about it, but also my friend Jenny Nolf, who we've had on the show, told me all, like, you need to watch this movie, and she's been saying the same about Whiplash, and I saw it in a few theaters in New York. So,
Dude,
I don't know anything about
Go
it.
to Violent Don't. Yeah, I went into Blue Ruin without knowing anything.
Yeah.
That's like the best way.
It is always the best experience.
Yeah.
You literally do not look up anything about the movie.
Yeah.
It's sometimes a little confusing. Like, what was the movie that we had watched a few weeks ago where they were working at the kids center.
Yeah, Face
Oh
Off.
no, short-term 12. It's always Face
Well,
Off.
like they're having this conversation. All of a sudden, this kid like bolts.
Yeah.
And like they're trying to chase after him, and he's like saying these like crazy things. And I was like, are they in space? Is this some kind of like place they're harvesting organs?
Yeah.
Like it's interesting not knowing what's going on. It's a whole other experience, which we're not used to because previews are so. You just can't get away from
it. It is
them these
interesting.
days.
You know what else is interesting? Nice fabric just holding your junk. And Blaine's here to tell us all about it.
All right, 90%, that's the percent of your life that you're in underwear, and underwear gets old fast. You know that feeling of putting on old, saggy underwear? You know that feeling? You should know that feeling of great-fitting underwear that is 2 times as soft than cotton. You need to know about MeUndies.com. MeUndies is the most comfortable underwear you will ever wear, and it's insane how good they make you feel. They fit perfectly, they don't ride up on you, and they literally pull moisture away from your body so you stay cool. They have cool styles for both men and women, and all look great. Check out the photos yourself, MeUndies.com. The quality would typically retail for 2 times the MeUndie price. No retail middleman means more savings for you. Here, I'll make it easy. Go to MeUndies.com/screenplay and get 20% off your first order and free shipping. Save even more when you buy a pack of them. They guarantee you're going to be happy with them, or your first pair is free. Once you feel MeUndies on your body, you're never going back. But to get that 20% off, you have to go to MeUndies.com/screenplay.
You know, you said MeUndies so fast, it sounded like you were saying Mandy's.
I felt the same way. I felt really creeped out.
You gotta get Mandy's on you.
You did give me a shirt.
Yeah.
And it's fucking like, it's cold. It's like constantly cold. It's like ice.
It's nice. No, they really are good. Gus got some the last time he was on the video store. I have a few pair, like, you know.
Now I can't stop imagining Gus and MeUndies, and I just want to buy more.
I just want to put like a bunch of nature box in my MeUndies and then just walk around for the day. Just like
junk. Yeah.
And then have them send me a bunch of stuff. Anyway, thank you so much, Blaine, for reading that.
Whiplash. Go see it, please.
So check out Whiplash, and I think that mostly makes up all the movie stuff we've talked about.
Hey, real quick, as far as the Tomb Raider adaptation goes, it was the highest grossing video game adaptation until it was surpassed by Prince of Persia.
Oh, that's right. Disney. That was supposed to be.
I was upset about that.
Wait, Prince of Persia,
and they got Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
And they were like, let's just give him a little
beard.
Yeah, a little beard, and let's get that skin nice and gold and stuff. And it's like, come on,
wait, who
guys.
was it though? Was it you on the show that we talked about Prince of Persia? And you're like, yeah, but he looked really good.
Oh yeah, that was definitely me. Comparing him from Nightcrawler. Yeah, that was kind of a flop for Disney. I think that was supposed to be their next big thing. They were going to try, I think, to do a trilogy, kind of like with Tron. It just
that might have been the
didn't work.
Michael Eisner years.
Maybe.
They just made bomb after bomb.
What was that one? That old property where the dude goes to Mars?
Oh, John Carpenter.
John Carter.
John Carter. Yeah,
that movie
bombed.
And then there's that one with the cowboy.
Actually, the rights for John Carter just went back to the original person who had the rights. Like Disney would like let it go away.
Yeah.
Instead of like, you know, Spider-Man like in Sony and stuff. Disney said nah.
Johnny Depp and Army Hammer. What was that movie?
Oh, you're talking about the Lone Ranger. That movie bombed as well.
Yeah, that sucks for Disney.
I heard it was okay. I've never seen it.
I heard it.
Let us know if you liked it. I'm very curious.
Before we move on from movies, I saw Saint Vincent.
Oh, how was it?
It was like, I went into it and I was like, well, the reviews are only okay for this, but my girlfriend really wanted to see it. And it was cool because Bill Murray didn't do the Bill Murray that we've seen since Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah.
Where it's just like monotone and like kind of like witty comments. He played a character, like a real character that we haven't seen. And what's the lady from Melissa McCarthy? Everyone like makes fun of her because she's always this wild and crazy person, but she wasn't. She was like the straight man.
Yeah.
She was a real person. So the characters were so much fun and so interesting, and Bill Murray was so crass and unlikable in this weird way. But then, I don't want to give away anything about the movie, but you reach that point where you're so emotional and you're so happy because it just, everything comes together in such a beautiful way. And you can't leave the theater but feeling good.
It's in that
and
scene.
that's why I was making fun of Blaine because he took a girl to see Interstellar. I was like, take her to see St. Vincent because you'll both walk away being so happy, and you'll think it's because you like each other's company, but in reality,
psychology. Lessons from Brandon.
So I think like we all get
mind.
he's the only person who can be sweet and kind of skeezy at the same time.
I'm just saying, it's like you want like, you know, fun, and you want everybody to be positive.
Yeah.
And I think we get so obsessed with like, let's see, you know, Birdman. It's like so cerebral. It's so cool. We forget that there are movies out there that can generally make us feel good about the world and good about other people. So that was one of the most refreshing movies I've seen. So if you're looking for something different,
I'll have to check it out. I'll have to go
I
on a
definitely
date.
want to check it out.
Alyssa McCarthy, I'm just glad that she's breaking that fucking
She's not
typecast.
breaking it because she has a new movie coming out where she's like, I don't know, she has like guns and she's dropping them and she's in a big jersey.
She's
not abandoning that.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
like, I'm glad she's kind of
Trying
adding some
new things.
variety
Yeah.
because I hate
Yeah.
that she's been typecast as that fat, crazy, funny lady.
But people watch those movies. They don't go
Yeah.
watch St. Vincent.
It's true.
That's
Blows.
the problem.
We don't need a female Chris Farley.
So check out St. Vincent so they can keep making movies like that. It's I've not seen it, but everyone I've talked to, Clinton Brand, said it's a good
Yeah.
movie. Also,
And
probably-
Chef. It was like the same category
Yeah, I
for
think
me.
Chef's probably out on VOD and online now. Also, one of my favorite artists is musically is St. Vincent. Not at all connected, but really good artist.
Oh, I like her.
Yeah, she's
Do you
great.
see
Yo,
the?
you like St. Vincent, right?
No, I haven't seen.
No, the music.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen? Did you see the new trailer for 50 Shades Grey?
I did.
It
I
looks
did.
so good.
Does it look good?
Well, it
that's
looks erotic.
That's what the first trailer should have been.
Yeah.
Like when they released that first trailer, I was like,
What was that?
It's like
that's part of the trailer.
you were showing this
Mandy
trailer
was
and
like,
I was getting
yeah.
all super into it, and then you showed Andy and it was just gone.
They do this thing where it's like she meets what's the guy, Mr. Grey?
Yeah, Dorian Gray.
And then she walks out, and then it's raining, and she's just standing. It's like, what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Wait,
She's
wait,
wet. She's literally soaked now.
That's ridiculous. So wait, his name's Dorian. Is
She doesn't have that face.
his name Dorian Gray? Isn't
Yeah.
that, isn't that the name of the guy that doesn't age?
No, it's not Dorian Gray.
What's his name in the
Hang on.
movie?
Yeah,
Let
I
me
think
look
this
that
is the trailer that everybody was expecting because it's
Yeah.
like people are gonna. The reason this book was so popular was because it was extremely erotic.
Yeah, I
like,
don't,
let's
think,
be
I don't
real.
think they released this trailer. I think they released a teaser because they were still filming this. I think they're still filming.
Yeah.
No, it comes out in February.
Yeah.
Right. I still think for screenplay, I want to take like maybe all of you guys. Like I just want to go with a bunch of guys.
I'm wearing a
like,
suit.
No women. Like hands must be shown at all times.
You talk about a movie you
Yeah.
want to make your girlfriend happy going to see.
It's Christian Grey.
It comes out on
Christian Grey.
Valentine's
All
Day.
right, all right.
He looks like
everybody
he looks like Bruce Wayne.
tie
but
everybody
with-
up.
He's gonna
Instead of fighting crime, he
fight
sex.
He fights crime with his penis.
I'm Dick Man.
If you want to see a movie that's erotic and really good, I'd recommend Sex and Lucia. That's one of the most like erotic
game
movies
totally out of
I've
left
ever
field.
made.
It's such a great date
No,
movie.
it's
and
like
just
if you
everybody's
like
happy.
that, if that's what you want to see,
a good raunchy fucking
and
movie.
you want to see something good,
Go see Sex and Lucia.
it's really good.
That's so creepy. I need to take a shower right now. Okay, we got to get into a little bit of TV before we talk about Blue Ruin, which is the movie I'll watch this week. But really quickly, Andy, over in the video store, what was the quote and who got it?
All right. Well, as you guys know, the quote was "Get busy living or get busy dying." And the first one to correctly say who it was and from what movie was Noble Lance, and it was Red from
Nice.
Shawshank Redemption.
Nice. There you go.
I thought you said Rent for a second. I was like, what?
Oh, that's weird. I almost sang the song from Team America right now, and I'm so glad I did it.
Mr. Andy
The big Broadway
Dufresne.
opening. Okay, anyway,
AIDS.
so moving over to U2. So in television this week, U2 canceled. We won't spend too much time on this, but U2 canceled. They were going to do a whole U2 week on Fallon. And then they canceled because Bono got in a cycling accident or hurt himself. Maybe they're trying to like do PR for their bad move of sticking their album on everyone's Apple device.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pissed a lot of people
That pissed a
off.
lot of people off. Well, it's weird. Okay, I'm just gonna go out and say it is like U2 is this weird thing. It's generational. Like there's a certain age range where like if you were a teenager in the 80s and you're listening to Joshua Tree and stuff, which I wasn't, but like I know a lot of guys that are like, oh, U2 is awesome. But then there's people like us where we see U2 as like people that do like their music is on like truck commercials and Apple commercials. To us, they're just kind of like this blasé mainstream band.
Yeah.
I know them because like they're Apple, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Unos
they had an
dos
Apple,
cuatros.
a U.
Yeah,
Fuck that
uno,
song.
dos,
They had a
tres, cuatros.
U2 iPad or iPod Mini. I
Yeah,
remember
so
that.
they're
It's
they're
red.
like Apple's band, pretty much.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know who's the U2 of our generation? I think Foo Fighters. Because like they're totally like mainstream, big blown up. You know what I mean? Like,
Name a
like
thing.
it's all like super uplifting music. Like everyone likes. Like, am I like Chris's?
I don't know about that.
Face off.
I don't know. Do you like the Foo Fighters?
Yeah, I mean,
like their older stuff. Like
but I don't know if I
Everlong.
would say they're the band of our generation.
Maybe one
No.
Direction.
I'm not talking about. I'm not saying they're like.
shut your
I'm not
mouth,
saying they're
Fran.
representing us. I'm saying they're that like big corporate. Like everyone loves this band. Perception
Yeah.
is all positive for this band.
I guess to me, U2 doesn't necessarily. They don't have a positive image, and to me, necessarily, they seem kind of douchey.
And
it's because of the glasses.
And maybe it's also from South Park.
I think in Spinal Tap, they go visit like Elvis's house, Graceland. I think U2 actually did that, and apparently it was like the exact same experience, but they weren't being satirical.
Oh, and they're like, since my baby left. Hold on, wait, falsetto. So since my baby left. They're all sitting at Elvis's grave, and they're like trying to get the pitch right. It's pretty funny.
But apparently U2 actually did that in like straight face. Like,
Spinal Tap is one of my favorite movies. I painted one of my old houses when I moved into it, like watching Spinal Tap over and over, and it just, man, that movie's amazing.
It's good. It's like, that's like how you do it. That's like the perfect mockumentary kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Christopher Guest from Spinal Tap was the villain in Princess Bride until I did that event the other night with Carrie Elwes. I was like, holy shit, that's Christopher Guest. That's Jamie Lee Curtis's husband. And he might know from like A Mighty Wind. What are the movies? Like Mighty Wind, Best in Show. He does like all those funny.
That's
all those
Yeah, he's like the crazy guy.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, so that's going on with you two. Colbert is going to CBS. Jon Stewart has come out and said he's already kind of planning and looking toward the future when he's going to leave the Daily Show. No certain date, someday. And a lot of people are saying it's because his movie Rosewater, which is kind of a political thriller, is out, and I think he's kind of gotten the director's bug. I'm curious to see how that film will do, but it looks like he wants to keep doing more and more of that. Here's my question for you guys: who do you think would be a good Jon Stewart replacement?
Oh, I don't know. I think what made Jon Stewart great was they went and it's not like he was a no-name. I mean, I think he had a show on MTV, but I think relatively obscure.
Yeah.
I think you got to go and you got to find somebody like that. Like I don't think you can go and take like a big.
My immediate thought would be John Oliver, because the thing he's doing at HBO is great.
Oh yeah,
like, he would be this
like
week.
Promote him.
It's amazing, but I feel like now he's almost too big to.
Well,
come back.
he has his own thing going.
Yeah.
But I mean, he'd be great because he's really sharp.
If you haven't watched the John Oliver, what's it called? Like this week, last week
tonight
or something.
Tonight, yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't seen them, when I was in New York, I was at a friend's house and we just kind of binged through them, and
they're really funny.
And he can cuss and stuff, so he has like
and the thing is, they're not just funny; they're also like
smart.
Yeah,
educational almost.
No, they are. Yeah.
So that's that, and then so Peter Pan.
Yeah.
So who said the awful soundbite?
So, wait, what do you mean?
About Peter Pan.
Oh, yeah. So, well, first of all, they look like they're phoning this shit in. Christopher Walken looks...
right now, if you're...
I would have sex with Peter Pan.
They're in on
I would have sex with Peter Pan.
They're in on the joke, I think.
if you're watching the audio pod or listening on the audio podcast, right now we're actually watching the clip from NBC's upcoming Peter Pan Live with Allison Williams and Christopher Walken, and she's doing a great job. Blaine says he would bed Peter Pan.
I would.
I said it a little nicer than the way he said it.
Well, no, I was just sitting there and I just finished it. I took my headphones off. I was like, yeah, I'd have sex with Peter Pan.
And but yeah, Christopher Walken looks like he's definitely sleepwalking.
He's just kind of like
sleepwalking.
What movie is this?
We're not trying to do our impressions. Like
no, yeah, me and Brandon figured out we can't do Christopher Walken impressions.
This watch, Peter Pan.
This hook, Peter Pan.
Your father's ass.
Pulp Fiction.
Anyway.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Blaine. Thank you for clearing that up for me. You should have your own show.
What were you saying, Brandon?
No, it looks like they're in on the joke, which I think is cool and refreshing. So it's hard. It's great when shows do that because it's like they're getting ahead of you and preventing you from criticizing them almost, because it's like they're in on the joke, they're making fun of themselves, so it makes it harder to make fun of them, like because they're really playing off that old 1990s made for TV movie. Type deal. So you used to see that more often.
I want Christopher Walken not to play a character, just be Christopher Walken. Just playing Captain Hook.
I'm hooked. I think we talked about this, but you have like this sick, like kind of not obsession, like joy in watching live stuff because you know something's gonna go wrong.
That's exactly it. That's like, this is all pre-recorded stuff in the commercial, but when it's live, like like when that guy does the flip off the table, he might hit the camera on the jib. Like it's the same reason NASCAR is a thing. You're like, I just hope some shit happens and I get to see it.
When I was in high school, we did a very big budget production for our theater program of Peter Pan. A lot of shit could go wrong. There's a lot of ropes Peter's flying around, and there was a lot of we fucked up a lot.
Maybe it'll be like some.
Peter kept on getting tangled and shit.
Well, it's like Spider-Man. Turn off the dart.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man Broadway show, like they had to like replace like 2 Spider-Men.
Funny enough, the guy that played Peter Pan, his name was Brett Thiel, is actually he's one of the Spider-Mans in the Broadway thing.
Oh wow! Well, really quick, Allison Williams, who's playing Peter Pan, she's mostly known for Girls. She's on Girls on HBO.
Oh, who's she in Girls?
I don't know. You watch the show.
I do. What's her name?
Her name's Allison Williams, I think. But her.
Oh, she's Marnie.
She's Brian Williams.
That's Marnie?
Yeah. It's Brian Williams' daughter
from NBC News.
I would definitely have sex with Peter Pan then.
But so Brian Williams, if you haven't seen it, he was doing his news on NBC News, like the nightly news or whatever, and he was just like, and in other news, Allison Williams has been casted as, Peter Pan, a role that she's been practicing for ever since she was a little girl, and it cut to like a little home video or photo he had of her as a little girl dressed up as Peter Pan for a play. He never said that's my daughter. He didn't make it like, if you knew, it was adorable, but if you didn't know, it's just like a little news clip.
That's cool.
It was adorable. So there's that, and really,
I wonder if like the creators of that show kind of want something to go wrong. I think like everybody kind of wants that moment of something silly happening, like almost the cast in SNL whenever they crack up is like one of the most enjoyable things. And the whole thing reminds me a lot of Scrooged. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's
the Bill Murray one?
The Bill Murray movie about putting on a live show for night.
Yeah.
Christmas Carol.
I think that's Karen Allen in that movie. I think she's from the Indiana Jones movies, who plays the love interest in Scrooge. I've always loved her. Ever since I saw her in Scrooge, I was like, I love you.
Well, was this the chick that was in
Karen Allen?
Yeah.
She's the one that comes back in Crystal Skull.
Right. Oh, don't mention Crystal Skull.
Yeah, we don't have to. But really quickly, I just want to say, what shows...
She was in Animal House.
If we can sign off. We're running a little over, but we started a little late. But are there any shows that you guys have got into recently that you think people should give it a go? Or are there any shows that there's a bunch of buzz around, and you're like, I really want to watch this, but I haven't had a chance yet?
The Men Who Built America, it's only an 8-part series, and I think it was recommended to me by Patrick, our... Podrick, who's our studio department. It's tremendous, and it's cool because it runs you through not just like all these guys that were important in America, but the captains of industry.
Yeah.
Like the railroads guy, the steel guy, the oil guy. So it was kind of cool because I love documentaries, and the way that they portray everything is really interesting and really dynamic.
Yeah.
Because it just like shows like each figure, and they look super cool, and like it's just very captivating visually. So I think that's definitely the series that I would recommend and that I really love.
New Build America.
I'm gonna say that for me, it's Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I have to bring this up because last week I called him Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I, for some reason, by the way, if I would love if one of you guys could make like a fake poster for like Neil deGrasse on Degrassi, or if you could do a whole season where Neil deGrasse is on, or just a show called Neil deGrasse, I would watch the shit out of that show. But all these people gave me so much shit because I kept saying his name wrong because I had it certain. It sounded certain in my head, and then I'd said it wrong last week, and everyone's like, "You're an idiot," and never. So I watched Cosmos, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
like it's got so many homages to like Carl Sagan's like version back that I think they did in the 70s. But since I think Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy produces it, they have a lot of money, and it really just blows your mind.
It's great visual storytelling, and the way that he conceptualizes things is a lot easier and more fun for people to understand, because there's a difference between feeding people information and getting them to think about it and expanding
it's like Bill Nye.
their own minds.
Yeah,
I think we talked about that.
Well, I mean, I was watching. I was like, I could totally see this being like shown to kids in class, but like me and Jen were watching it and just enjoying it. But there's definitely some times where you could feel like there's definitely like it definitely leans toward atheism more than it does like religion. Like there's some times where they say things like about like
creationism.
old time religion and how they were wrong, and you're just like, this is kind of heavy on the atheistic point of view. But anyway, so really quickly before we talk about Blue Ruin, what are the films or what are the shows that you guys like?
Have you seen Rick and Morty?
I've seen a few episodes. It's good.
Pretty funny.
It's the same.
Have you seen it? It's kind of like a cartoon spin on Back to the Future.
Go on.
That looks just like it.
Yeah. Like
the Doctor looks like it.
It's basically like, kind of crazy,
eccentric.
Yeah. It's his grandfather and then like a kid, and they go. It's not just time travel, but they like different dimensions and like sci-fi.
Man, why wasn't there a Back to the Future cartoon?
Maybe there might have
There
been.
might
Wow.
There was a Beetlejuice cartoon, and that was tremendous.
There was a cartoon for every movie.
Oh,
at
the
some
Extreme
point.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
That was a great show.
Wasn't
Times
one of them was in a wheelchair, right? In the Extreme Ghostbusters?
No, you're thinking of the new Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay.
Extreme Ghostbusters was the original cast, and then they created Slimer.
Yeah.
And then they put Slimer in the movie because it
That's
became
right.
like the most popular
Really,
character.
was
really
kinda like
quickly
Boba
with
Fett
Chris, Rick and Morty. It's written and showrun. I think it's Don Harmon, the guy who does
yeah,
Community, which is on your shirt, I believe.
He created Rick and Morty, which
Nice.
Yeah, he was the showrunner for Community. Also, real quick, for the quote of the week, it turns out that both Red and Andy said that quote. So for anyone that answered Andy, I'm sorry.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I answered it earlier then, Mr. Andy Dufresne.
Way to go.
I guess my show would be. I still think Venture Brothers is the most like it is an incredible cartoon that is so underrated. Like not enough people know about that beautiful animation. And it's fucking funny.
I used to watch it religiously. I think I dropped off around season 3 or 4. I need to get back into
I've
it.
got pretty much all of them on DVD, one of them on Blu-ray. But God, it's so fucking
Party
good.
at your house this weekend, sounds like. All right, so let's go into our movie book club of the week. This was a film that was suggested, like I said, by Gilby. And I had a lot of friends tell me to watch it. It's one of these ones that flew under the radar. It's called Blue Ruin. I think it was a Fantastic Fest film a few years back. I don't even know how to sum it up. Chris, you can hang out or you can play with this Rubik's Cube because I believe last night I know you were showing your web series The Wingman at the Alamo Draft House. It's a nice little show that you, Aaron Marquis,
Zach Anner and Marshall Rimmer and Jordan Crowder, just my friends from college.
Brad.
Is Brad Anner. We made in college, and then we shot the whole thing. We just never finished releasing it and editing it. And then for Zach Anner's 30th birthday, he ran out of theater and was like, "All right, well, let's screen it."
Movie book club next week.
Yeah. Anyway, it's called
All
The
2.5 hours.
It's called The Wingman. It's on the internet. It's if you want to see a young Chris and Aaron from Rooster Teeth getting in shenanigans, you check it out. But so Chris was busy last night, so we're giving him a pass. He wasn't able to watch Blue Ruin. So there's a Rubik's Cube there if you want to play with the
Apparently,
Rubik's Cube.
Jeff Ramsey went to the showing last night, and afterwards he emailed Aaron. He's like, "You guys did not age well."
Oh, look, we're watching some of it. That's awesome. Ah, that's very cool. Okay, so oh man, that hair. I remember. I remember when this was around because we had friends of mine worked on this show.
Yeah.
So it was. It's cool to see it come like kind of full swing. Okay, so we're here. We're talking about Blue Ruin. So here's a movie, and Chris, you haven't seen it. So how would you sum up this movie, like to Chris, guys? Like,
I feel like it's the anti-Die Hard.
Very good comparison.
Like, with Die Hard, you have a character who, despite seeming like a normal guy, he's basically a badass. Like 99% of the general population couldn't do what he did in the movie. This movie...
Speak for yourself.
This movie is about a guy... A guy that couldn't be more normal and probably below that because his life unfolds in a way, unfortunately, where he's kind of living off the street and out of his car, and he goes on this, impulsive act to murder the guy who killed his father.
Yeah.
And then he finds himself in this, huge, conspiracy to, this huge hunt of revenge. And he's so inept. Like he can't fire a gun. He misses a shot within like a foot of trying to, shoot somebody.
he like hits the trunk.
Yeah,
Fish in a
so
barrel.
it's like, it's so interesting because it's like, the guy who's so the last person you would want to be in this position, it's like, what would he do in this movie?
Yeah.
So we've seen the opposite of this movie a million times.
Yeah.
So it was cool seeing this for once.
where it's like it doesn't play on the tropes that you've seen a lot of times.
Yeah.
And let us know what you thought on the internet, RT Screenplay, or if you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments. But man, this was like exactly like there's a scene where he's talking to the guy in the trunk who he's been driving around in the trunk for a long time, and then like he opens it. He first he gets a gun. And the guy's been in the trunk the whole time, so he acquires a gun. He learns how to shoot it, and then he's like, all right, I'm ready to open the trunk and shoot this guy. And it's kind of like it builds up and it builds up, and they have this back and forth conversation. Like they have this dialogue while one's in the trunk getting ready to get shot, and he's holding the gun, and it's the funniest, like most intense like dialogue. And that's the moment in the movie where I went, I really kind of fucking love this movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's so different. It's so smart. Like, the style's great. And it's almost a little similar to even There Will Be Blood for the first couple, like, 15, 20 minutes. Because there's, like, no dialogue.
Yeah, they recorded barely any dialogue on set. I was so jealous. But it just shows you how important, not only in every movie, but in that movie, sound design is. Like, 90% of that movie was the guy or girl, I don't know who had to do all the sound design.
we had we have our like movie room where we do like screens, so we had that big screen in there. I popped in this beanbag. Clayton was walking by, he was doing some late night work last night, and he said it got to the part where it was his friend, you know, the haircut, and he's like, you know who that is, right? And I was like, no, don't tell me. And I looked at him and I was like, holy shit, it's
Buzz.
Yeah, it's Buzz. And then Clayton was like, Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof.
From Home Alone.
Home Alone.
Yeah. I'm going to feed you to my tarantula, Kevin.
He was also in.
He was great.
That was a cool fucking character.
No, he was a great character, and like for someone who I haven't seen on the radar for a long time, he was super comfortable as an actor. Like he solely sold it on it. There's
that part when he shoots the guy. He's like, I'm sorry, he had to raise his gun first.
Yeah,
and the guy, like you hear a bullet kind of like
from far away.
Yeah,
from far away.
Like, where is that?
And then his neck.
He looks and you.
And it's like blows some of his face off. It's pretty violent. There's a scene where he's talking to his sister after he tells him, "I killed the guy that killed our parents." You know, which by the way, I love how they don't tell you that right at the bat. Like this, you know this guy is getting revenge. You know that someone is getting out of jail, and this guy wants to kill him, but you don't know why. Yeah. You don't know the story. It's not until the very end, literally the last couple like minutes of the movie, that you get the entire story, and I love that. But there's a scene where he's talking to his sister, and she's like, you know, you could do something with your life. You could, you know, because he's kind of a homeless guy that just breaks into people's houses
to shower and
showers, and that's what all he does.
Well, at least he's showering.
Well, there's this one scene where like he's all grubby, and the next shot like he's all done up and he cuts his hair, and he's talking to his sister, and all I could think was like, you could get a job as a hairstylist. Like you did a really good job. Like it's a nice haircut.
I just thought he looked way better before.
I did too. I wanted to see that guy kill a bunch of people.
Yeah, because see, this guy was all like, he's super yuppie and super vulnerable when he's all shaved.
Yeah, he looked like Dan.
I'd be really
from
worried if Josh ever showed up to the office clean shaven. Like, did you kill someone?
I mean, he already looks like fucking was that guy?
Sling Blade or something.
Whoa, Josh? No. The guy that mass murdered
Charles Manson.
Charles Manson.
Man. Let's talk about the arrow scene really quickly. When he's pulling the arrow out of his leg and he's like drooling and the pain, like. You believe it.
Yeah.
You really believe that he's in that much pain. Like, 'cause I mean, seriously, like, there's drool come out of him and then he's like shaking, and I was like, it was hard to watch.
And again, they set it up like, oh, you know, he has this arrow in his leg, he's gonna have to pull it out, but he can't do it. He eventually just goes to the hospital because he's so inept. The thing I wasn't crazy about this movie was I like the circumstances, I like the idea, but I still didn't really get attached to the character himself, Dwight. Like there wasn't anything I found about him that was likable, or really anything that was dislikable. Like I just felt sort of apathetic towards him as a person, but I did sympathize, and I was really interested in his circumstances.
I sympathize for the consequences.
Yeah, but as a character, I was just kind of like, I don't know, boring's not the right word, because a character can be boring and still interesting. It was just kind of, it kind of lost on me.
He was
like
no John McClane.
He was John McClane. And everybody around him was really cool and interesting.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to see more Buzz. You know, and what crazy shenanigans he played.
It started with just revenge. He wanted to kill the guy that killed his parents. You know, easier said than, you know, what, like that's fine. And then it turned into this thing where it's like, well, these people, this entire family is going to come after my sister. So then he like went to kill his, you know, the whole family, because otherwise they'd get his sister and his niece and nephew or whatever. I like the part when he is in their house listening to them listen to him on the answering machine. And it's like, he gave him a chance. He's like, he put down the gun. He was going to shoot him. He puts down the gun, and he's like, please don't harm my sister. And then one of them yells like, we're going to, you know,
that's why we're going to Pittsburgh or whatever.
We're going to Pittsburgh. And then he's like, all right.
Literally second.
Yeah, and he was like,
shoots him.
Nope, you know, they're going to hurt my sister. And then he's pop.
Yeah, and then the ending when you find out the young kid who doesn't seem so like kind of redneck and shady, like when you find out that that's his half brother.
Yeah.
And then when you realize the guy that takes him down, that actually shoots Dwight with a shotgun, is his own blood, and it's so heavy. And at the end, he's like, I can't do it, and that's when you realize like, oh, like this is the story. This is what happened.
And then, okay, so where do you think that kid's gonna go? Do you think he's gonna have like a similar life because he got the car?
I don't know.
Is that where the title of the movie comes from?
That's the thing. It's okay. The movie's called Blue Ruin, and I was asking,
a lot of blue in it.
There's the whole movie's like it's blue like white balance, like and there's so many themes, like there's blue shirts always, blue hoodies, the car is blue. So I think it's just like this constant. Well, but that's the thing, is the director's next movie going to be always like
red,
like yellow anger.
I like to think they just had like a really bad wardrobe person, and we're like, all the blue stuff was on sale, and they bought the wrong film. So like,
and then the DP didn't know how to white balance. So it's like, oh, man.
Like, I don't know, this color correction works.
The last thing I'm going to say about this movie is that like there's usually a time, even with like short-term 12, and even with like Tucker and Dale when we watched it, where I'll hit pause in the movie, like to either go to the bathroom or grab a drink or something, and I hit pause in this movie, and it was like, wow, there's only 13 minutes left. This is a short movie.
Yeah.
This is like hour
minutes.
25 over 27, like like an hour and 30 pretty much with credits.
I think they explain why, and it's my favorite line in the movie. He's talking about, Dwight is talking about when he initially confronted the man who killed, or who he thought killed his father.
Yeah.
And he said, I thought I would die. Like, I didn't actually think I could go in there, kill this guy, and survive. I thought I was going in there, and it's basically a suicide mission. But he survived. So then after that, it's kind of like, well, how do we fill the rest of this time?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do here? And that's why he's not prepared. He's so inept. But in the end, he is still able to execute. Like, at the point in time where he shoots that guy in the head, you do see, all right, there was a character arc, and it was that trigger of my family. And it's interesting how the movie's about family. Like, if there's one word to describe the theme of this movie, it is family. And you can kind of sympathize with both families. You know, the one where the kind of redneck family, you understand their motivation, and it kind of mirrors his own motivation. Like, you killed one of us, we're gonna go after you. We're gonna go after your family, your innocent family.
Yeah, like you can almost make a whole nother movie that's just their POV. You know what I mean? Like the family's POV.
Yeah, they look rotten though.
I think it was called Deliverance.
So if someone killed your family, would you go like?
No, I'd probably just become Batman.
Batman? Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah, he's kind of like, he could have been Batman.
He's like a really dingy Batman who doesn't have nearly as many skills, or Liam Neeson.
Hey,
But
sorry.
Go ahead. What's up, Andy?
Real quick, before you guys sign off, I just want to say that there was actually a Back to the Future cartoon in 91 and 92.
I knew there was one. Yeah.
And,
There you go.
and between episodes, they actually had segments with Christopher Lloyd and Bill Nye the Science Guy. So,
That's crazy.
yeah.
I wonder if
They were like live action elements. Like,
We gotta go back. We gotta go back. We gotta find this cartoon.
That's awesome.
I love when they have live action elements, like the old Mario Brothers cartoon.
Yeah.
When
With
it's
the
like-
wrestlers. All right, well, guys, speaking of, you're talking about Nintendo, we're about out of time, but I would definitely suggest this film. If you haven't checked it out, Blue Ruin. And then for next week's movie book club of the week, I have a cool little prop here to show what movie it is, and it's kind of going with 10 Little Roosters, which is it's a project here at Rooster Teeth that we're really kind of enjoying and proud of, and it's a whodunit movie about a murder. So I figured, what's a good movie to tie in with 10 Little Roosters, and I think there may be some nods and homages, but here it is, mofos. I'm talking about Clue. That's right. This is the movie with Tim Curry, and for some reason,
Tim Curry's great in it.
Tim Curry's amazing.
Yeah,
Keep holding it, JJ. Keep holding it up.
Yeah, can you see this? For some reason, I have acquired a an SNES cartridge of the game Clue, and I'm definitely gonna play this.
Tonight.
So I mean, it's like it's similar to 10 Little Roosters, if people have seen that, where it's like, here's a mystery, here's all these people, here are all these weapons, like figure out, all right, who did what.
There you go.
And it's all about misdirection and red herrings and stuff.
So yeah, definitely check out Clue. It's a fun movie, and we'll talk about it next week in depth.
Can I request that Chris is on that? He came in, he's like, Clue?
Yeah,
Like,
no,
he wants
definitely.
to be
Well,
on it, so.
you guys are definitely probably my favorite cast. Like, I've had like a lot of fun with you guys. Except you'd have sex with Peter Pan.
I would.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week on Screenplay. And always don't forget, you can go to roosterteeth.com/screenplay if you want to jump in the forums and talk about movies, movie book club of the week, and just this episode in general. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out.
Blaine, fairy dust or no fairy dust?
Oh, that'd be awesome.